still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back, sweat in my eyes. Old man's fight never says die. Old man on the mat, still standing tall. One more round, yeah, I've heard it all. Grip the edge, don't let it slip. Strength in the soul, strength in the grip.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew, this is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. And no, I'm not going to go into my normal pitch of saying how excited I am in life, because you guys know I'm already excited all the time. But what I am stoked about this morning is have a great guest on here today. This lady has been around. She's done some major things. She's been on some of the bigger shows out there. I am fired up about this. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and don't get too intimidated when you hear some of this stuff, but listen up. She is the founder of the Global Kung Fu Alliance, and she's an author. It's Push Your Way Through, a book about using the ancient principles of Kung Fu to get what you want out of life, get what you want in life. That's amazing. And she's also the chief editor of the Wing Chun magazine. Well, listen to this. She has the lineage of the true, the man, the myth, the living himself, Mr. Ip Man. If I hope I'm saying that right. But guys, with that, I give you Miss KungFu Kendra. How are you doing, Kendra?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, I'm telling you, when we got to chat real quick online and you were able to do this, I was really stoked because being as a old as I am, I started at my martial arts career enthusiasm for martial arts was watching all those old kung fu movies on television back in the day. And so seeing someone who's really into kung fu, it just blew my mind. So how did you get started in kung fu?
Well, I started my martial arts journey because I wanted more than just regular fitness. I wanted confidence, I wanted discipline, and I wanted a way to handle real life world conflict or combat. I've recently come out and expressed that I started Kung Fu actually because I was attacked over 20 years ago. I was very young, and at that time, it occurred to me that I needed something to, venture into a self-defense path. I needed to make sure that I didn't let this happen again to me. And it turned into ultimately a path of self-mastery and the ability to teach Kung Fu 20 plus years later. So the whole thing actually turned out to be a fantastic gift. And it's really shaped how I handle stress and everyday life.
So you turned something that was horrible to something positive. But what was when that attack happened? You don't have to get too in depth if you don't like to. But when that happened, did it make you fearful of going outside or trying new things or anything like that? Or did you go into a mental box, or did you just say, you know what, this is never going to happen to me again? I'm ready to fight.
Absolutely. It was definitely traumatic at the time. And, but I bounced back pretty quickly. I decided that, I'm not going to live my life in fear. I'm the type of person that if I meet adversity, I tackle it head on. So I knew that there was no way that, excuse me, that would happen again. And it just simply took me enrolling into a Kung Fu school. And I do believe that that's what defined my whole life's mission.
Okay, so wow, I mean, you had to be strong doing that because I tell you, being in some of the training that I've done and able to teach self-defense to women, and some of the women were attacked, and a lot of times they've gone back into their shell. They've gone into a shell, and it took them a while to come out. And I can understand that. That's no judgment on my side, but for you to be able to come through that and turn that around to your life mission is amazing.
And don't get me wrong, it's not easy to go through that, and people do need time to heal, and of course I took my time to heal and get over it. But the sooner you can get back up punching and kicking, they say you fall down 7 times but then you get up 8. So it's just the way life is, and it's a very good principle to follow.
Wow, that's pretty good. You have a great mindset about that. And wow, so now you walked into a kung fu school. What made you decide to go into kung fu as opposed to more of the boxing or grappling arts or anything? Was it just something hey, that looks familiar? I've seen a kung fu school down the street. Or did you actively seek out kung fu?
I actually didn't actively seek out Kung Fu. I just knew that I needed to get into martial arts. And the stars aligned for me because I found a Wing Chun Kung Fu school of all the arts of Kung Fu, such a niche Kung Fu, which was actually the perfect Kung Fu for me to learn because it teaches real life skills. It's not a competitive martial art. It teaches you as a small person how to use the economy of motion to get control of any situation. It's built for close range, basically street attacks, and knowing how to navigate out of that quickly and efficiently and to be safer on the other side is exactly what I needed.
Okay. Now, what made you decide to, when you found out I like Kung Fu, I'm in here, I see that, I'm attracted to that now. Now, when did you know this was going to be your life passion? How'd you know that I'm going to take this and run with it? Was it after being in for just a year or after a while of being in there? You said, what, this is just amazing. I want to share this with everyone.
It took many years. My training, which happened over 20 years at the Canadian Wing Chun Kung Fu Academy, there wasn't really a time in any of that training or learning that I thought, oh, I'm going to be a teacher, or oh, I want to have a global Kung Fu empire and a growing organization of, you know, a lot of people. It didn't occur to me until after my training. And when I realized that there was a huge demand for people to want to learn Wing Chun online and remotely because they are not easy to find. It's not easy to find a Wing Chun local school. So there's a huge challenge. People want to learn it, but they can't. So for me, it was just a no-brainer to connect the two and to give people an opportunity to explore their passion. A lot of people who are a little bit older grew up with kung fu movies and kung fu, and it's their inner passion now that they're, a middle-aged man or woman to learn it, and they can just learn it now from the comfort of their own home. And for me, that was a huge part of figuring out my journey, and that didn't happen until I had completed the full Wing Chun training and beyond. So,
Okay. So when in Wing Chun, is there a belt system or is it just a time frame? Because I know like Kendo, and there's some Kendo practitioners, they just have a time frame. They don't have a belt really. Is that the same way or?
well, many Wing Chun lineages are different. I train in traditional Wing Chun. So at level 10, there's 10 levels, and at level 10, you receive a gold belt. A purple belt comes after that as a master. Um, a black sash is worn around level 7 because they say level 7 in Wing Chun is equivalent to a black belt in karate.
Okay, yeah.
So at level 7, students can start wearing a black sash and then move their way through the ranks to level 10 and a gold sash and then a purple sash.
And you're a purple sash, am I correct?
I am.
Oh man, that's awesome. Oh man. Now do people see you and think, man, that's the woman out there in the magazine. She'll probably kill me.
Yeah, I've had a lot of students of mine tell me, I would hate to spar with you. They've seen what I can do with swords and with, the dragon pole, the long pole. But essentially, the fight that's won is the fight that doesn't start. That's the whole idea behind Kung Fu. It's to learn skills to defend yourself, not to go up to someone and punch them out and let's see what happens. It's simply to instruct motion to bring it back to peace.
Okay, man, I tell you, just hearing this, like you were saying earlier, it reminds me so much of those old kung fu movies, and they would talk about the philosophy. I know they're movies, but they used to blow my mind. Talk about philosophy, how to fight is not to fight, and those things, and you're like, wow, man, that was just great. I think a lot of martial arts is missing some of that too. Now, what's the difference first between gung fu and kung fu? Am I asking that correctly? Because I've heard gung fu is like a Chinese boxing or something like that. Am I right or no?
Essentially, it's the same thing. A lot of these words are used by different people. It's defined differently by everyone. Um, in my opinion, it's essentially the same thing. I've seen it kung fu, and it's kung fu like what I'm doing. I've also seen kung fu being the boxing essence of kung fu, but really, it comes down to skill. It comes down to the skills that were created from ancient China and how it's spread out. There's so many different interpretations, and that's what makes Kung Fu really fascinating.
Because you do a lot of weapons. Do you still do? Is kung fu, or is that just you see in the movies, do animal techniques and things like that? The crane and the lion and things like that.
Well, there are many Kung Fu styles, and a lot of them are tiger and crane, like you said. But essentially, they're all very useful. Are they realistic? Maybe. Maybe if you wanted to do some of those moves in a situation. But essentially, I feel that Wing Chun is the more direct path. It's not fancy. It's not um, showing off. It's basically just getting to safety as quickly as possible.
Okay. I have to ask you to forgive me a little bit because I'm sort of over here geeking, you know what I mean? Getting real like I've talked to a kung fu master from my childhood kind of thing. All those movies, and I'm talking to someone. So forgive me if I sound like I'm a little kid just bouncing around and giggly and everything else. But I'm very excited to be talking to you about this stuff. Now, kung fu, you see, like Bruce Lee, you think Kung Fu, you think Bruce Lee, and you also think of your lineage, which is Ip Man. Am I saying that right, Ip Man?
That's right.
Now, how is that lineage for your style, Wing Chun? Is that just you just fell into that style, or after you know some Kung Fu, you decide to follow that system?
No, it was just the stars aligning the day I joined a Wing Chun school. I didn't know anything about the history of Wing Chun. I didn't even know that I wanted to learn Wing
Okay.
Chun. I just knew I needed martial arts in my life. And then it turns out later on, I found out that my grandmaster, William Chung, trained with Bruce Lee. He was his training partner. And my grandmaster, um, was trained by great grandmaster Ip Man. So I am lucky in the sense that I am a third generation master. That's a very close um, connection from Ip Man to me. So it's Ip Man, Grandmaster William Chung, my Sifu, Brian Lawadney, and then me. So I didn't know at the time, but I do feel blessed, and it just drives me that much more to promote it with the world and continue to keep Wing Chun and Kung Fu alive.
I have a friend of mine, Tim Wright out of Chicago. He was able to go over to China, and they gave him a ceremony and all this other stuff to become, uh, I think, like the top level in the state or something like that. Is that like what you went through to get you, like you're known as the top level, the purple sash? Did you hit a special ceremony and everything in China at all, or anything like that?
No, no, not at all in China. It was just a humble experience that I think I'm grateful for. I don't know, some people like to think that I've a bit of a show off. I mean, I do put a lot of stuff out there on social media, but that's just to help market and promote Wing Chun. But I didn't go to China, and I think in retrospect, had I been given the opportunity, I definitely would have.
So cool. I'm telling you, no, you're not just showing off online. I've been watching your videos, and I'm thinking, how is she moving like that? How does she flash these swords around like that without cutting the finger off? I'd cut my arm off doing some of the stuff you're doing on there. It's amazing. But let's back up a little bit. So as a kid, Were you really active in all kinds of sports and all that stuff?
Definitely. I was a huge tomboy growing up. I played every sport. I played baseball, softball, hockey, soccer, outdoor soccer in the summer, indoor soccer in the winter. And I do believe it really helped shape my, um, desire to always be fit and be active because I know how good it feels. And I knew at a young age how good it felt to run around that soccer
Yeah.
field
Yeah.
until you're so out of breath and then you get a great sleep at night. So these things were thankfully instilled into me, thankfully by my mother at a very young age. She went out of her way to sign me up to every sports event and would sit and watch and cheer me on game after game. So because of her, I do believe I am where I am today.
Oh man, yeah, all because your mom, man, your mom showed you the way. That's good stuff. Were you the only
Mhm.
child, or were you the only child, or you got siblings?
I have two older sisters.
Okay, are
So
they in the martial arts also, or no?
no, they're not. They're not. But they both have their own set of great skills. My oldest sister is a nurse, and my middle sister, the one next old, is um, she just started a company as something called a death doula, which is for me, I was a little unsure of what that meant, but I guess because of the baby boomers, and there's a lot of people experiencing a lot of issues around grief right now. So she is a very gifted woman who now is devoting her life to helping people deal with grief. And it's just such a magical thing. I've got two magical sisters.
Man, it's like a dynamite. That's pretty cool, man. Now, doing kung fu so much and being at your level, do you run into a lot of the I don't know, macho guys out there that don't want to listen to you when they walk into a school and they see you being the instructor? It's like, what is this woman going to teach me?
Yeah, well, um, I would say not so much in a local school sense. People seem to be quite humble when they're meeting for a class. I've trained with some pretty cool people. One of my clients is billionaire Brett Wilson from the TV show The Dragon's Den,
Wow.
and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone is trains the same. We all start with the same set of training that's been done over um, many hundreds of years through ancient kung fu principles. Now, I do believe that online and in the online martial arts community, things are a little tougher because people can't just say something to your face. They've got the ability to, be what we call keyboard
Yeah.
warriors.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of adversity. There's a lot of challenges. I mean, I've overcome the challenges of, everyone seems to know more than everyone
Yeah.
else. But at the end of the day, it's a spiritual journey for each person. And like I said before, the fight not started is the fight that's won. So to experience the Macho Man and what would you know about Wing Chun? Well, Wing Chun was created by a woman. So what would I know about Wing Chun?
Oh,
I'm perfectly suited to teach Wing Chun. And so but it's just about educating people and letting them find themselves through your sense of peace. It's important to be a leader and to take the highest road.
man. It was created by a woman. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. I don't know much about kung fu, but I didn't know that. Wow. You think it's like all the guys
Yeah.
cutting hay and everything else in the fields you saw in the back in the old movies, and just guys doing it, but it was created by a woman, huh?
Hmm. Yeah, she was a nun. Yeah, you should look it up.
I
It's
will.
it's a fascinating story.
Wow. Created by a nun. All right. That's pretty cool. Now, do you incorporate Tai Chi and things like that into there? Or is that all encompassing in different moves?
I don't directly incorporate it into my course, but I do offer Qigong courses and other courses that are a perfect supplement to Kung Fu training. I love Tai Chi. I don't teach it as of yet. I haven't developed a course for it, But it is a part of the lineup of things that I'm planning on doing in 2026, including a women's self-defense instructor course, which is what I'm creating to help people learn the skills to go out and help women and children and men. So, if that's the case, but to actually teach not Wing Chun, but just basic self-defense. So there's a lot of cool things coming up in the KungFu Kendra
I
enterprise.
love that name, KungFu Kendra. I love that. So yeah, you're out there doing a lot of things. Do you teach? Are you into like other than the swords and the staffs? Are you into like firearms and knives and things like that?
I do not have a gun. I don't know how to use a gun. And being from Canada, we don't have guns for the most part. It takes a lot to be able to acquire a firearm. For knives, I teach Wing Chun in my course. The defense is against a knife attack. So I'm not teaching how to use a knife, but I'm teaching how to disarm someone with a knife, and then get the knife and get to safety.
Okay. Okay. So your system is complete self-defense, all around mental, physical, everything. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh man. Now, seeing with someone, they come into your school, and watching you do your videos, I promise you, I would pop a hip, I would cut an arm off, I would do all that stuff. How do you work with someone that's first come off, let's say, they see you, they say, I want to learn that. What's the first thing that you would have them do in one of your courses? Being an older person, maybe not have trained anything, they just saw what you're doing and says, I want to be able to do that. What would you start them with?
Well, if it was to learn the butterfly knives or the butterfly swords, I would say get the butterfly swords master certification course that I offer. It's a very simple step-by-step approach to learning each move of what we call the butterfly sword form in Wing Chun. So this form teaches you the chopping, the slicing, the kicks. There's a jumping spin in it, which maybe is not practical, but it brings in the traditional incorporation of it. So I would recommend, if you wanted to learn how to use swords like I do, you would go to kungfukendra.com and you would essentially enroll in the certification course to become a sword master.
Okay. So your courses, you have them all online. They can just click on anything and learn whatever they need, going step by step with you so they can go at their own pace. So if it's an old fart like me want to come in there, it'll be something slower that I don't have to do a flying nothing yet. I can just walk through something simple.
Definitely. All of the courses are designed to be a slow but methodical, step-by-step, how to do it, no fluff approach to learning any weapon form or just basic kung fu. I was inspired to keep it simple, straightforward, and step-by-step breakdown because when I was looking online for courses, not for myself, but just to see what's out there in the marketplace, a lot of these courses are convoluted, overcomplicated, too much talking and things that don't necessarily help the person learn what they're doing. A lot of people are showing off as well. The courses I create are for you to learn at home in a comfortable environment and methodically do these steps. Okay, now do them again. And before you know it, it's surprising. And I'm so humbled when people submit their videos to me because I need to evaluate them.
Yes.
But from going from never holding a pair of swords to being able to do the spins and the slices and the flying jump, it just blows my mind, and it reminds me that I am on the right path and that there is quality in the content.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Like I said, once again, looking at some of your videos, like I said before, I'm very intimidated watching some of those videos just because the movements and I don't want to say someone as our age because you look like you're what 24, 25.
Close.
Close, gotcha. I would hold on to that. But I mean, to move that way at that age, that's intimidating because I'm comparing myself and thinking, no, I couldn't put my leg there. I couldn't flip around and do all that stuff. But you're still doing all that. Now it's got to be because you're
Mhm.
constantly in the training system, so you haven't done the what we call in the in the other forms of martial arts. Got the master belly, where everyone gets fatter. You know, the more skilled they get
Mhm.
fatter, and they because they stop training. So you're still training daily then.
I am. And to be able to do the moves such as the butterfly sword form, you don't need to be in super shape and you don't need to have had much, if any, experience doing it before or any Wing Chun before. So don't ever feel like, I need to lose weight before I'm going to enroll in this or I'm too old. I'm a huge believer. I've written many articles, and the question is 50 too old to learn Wing Chun? Because I get asked that so much. I devoted an entire blog section about that, and the answer is no. You can learn Wing Chun at any time. I've recently had a student sign up who's in his 70s and he stopped his Wing Chun training, in his like 40s and now wants to pick it up again. And it's just such a beautiful thing and it has no boundaries.
70 years old. Oh man, you've got to
Hmm.
post that video. I want to see that guy flying around doing the stuff if he's jumping around. I mean, I just want to see it because that's amazing. At 70 doing that.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. Now, do you do any competitions at all out there? You competing much at all with forms and things like that?
I am not. I don't do any competitions. I have nothing against them. I just am just kind of doing my own thing. And competitive fighting with Wing Chun is difficult because in Wing Chun we're taught to, you know, put the fingers through the eye
Oh yeah.
sockets, disable the ability to live and breathe through the
Yeah.
neck. So I don't know how well Wing Chun would go over in a cage match or,
Yeah, you're right.
somebody would end up probably not in a good situation.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't promote doing things like that, but a part of our training is to defend ourselves. So if we were feeling like that this person's going to kill me, you need to get out, of that situation, or they're holding on to you so strong and you're being choked. Well, you need to know how to get out.
Okay. That makes sense though, because you can't go gouging eyes out and killing people in a tournament. Oh my gosh.
You can't. So it makes Wing Chun difficult to have in a competitive martial art.
Okay. Yeah. Have you done forms in competitions before? Because I've seen some of those online.
I've seen them online too, and I haven't explored it at all. I'm pretty busy right now, just running the Global Kung Fu
Yeah.
Alliance. I've got a lot of students that I'm grading exams, and I've got the magazine. I think it would be cool. I was a bit more competitive earlier in my training, but now I'm a little more calmed
Calm
down,
down. Yeah.
and I would just prefer to, bust out the Silum Dao form and then put it online and just have people enjoy and follow along.
Now, did you see your system explode during COVID time because everyone's locked in the house and they can't do anything, so they got to be online?
It definitely had a big spike, and during COVID, I was inspired to create the Wing Chun home workout. So I'm a strong believer in the Wing Chun training that half of it should be body conditioning, so cardio workout, and then the other half is skill building. So I developed a home workout that is a Kung Fu cardio workout. And that was a huge thing for people who were stuck at home. COVID was a horrible experience for many, and my heart goes out to everyone who was really
Yeah.
affected by
Yeah.
it. Um, but yeah, there was definitely a spike of interest in Kung Fu and online learning.
Yeah, because everyone was pushed indoors. At that time, I had at a gym, I had a martial arts school, and back then, and you're trying to do combat sport online. We tried to go to the online for everyone, and it was just like, Okay, grab your brother who's not in the class and choke him this way, throw him over that way. It didn't go too well. I think that was like, ugh. COVID was a horrible time for a lot of people, and I
Yeah.
saw a lot of people like yourself who really grew with it, and I think, like you said, that helped your business tremendously. And that's pretty cool. Do you have a specific nutrition that you would suggest for your students to take on to?
Absolutely. I am a strong believer in a well-balanced diet. I'm not a big fan of the word diet, and I try to avoid using it. But in this sense, it's essentially I would recommend eating well-balanced foods. So for myself, as an example, I have fish 3 nights a week. I have chicken twice a week, and then I have beef twice a week. So I know that I'm on a certain path. I'm getting this amount of this amount of that. I also include smoothies in my everyday life because that's an easy way to get leafy vegetables, apples, all these beautifully colored fruits that come from nature into a blender and then into your body. And I do believe that that helps us feel good about ourselves and raises our energy levels to a point where we can function at a higher ability, which just makes life better.
Oh yeah. So do you lift weights at all too?
I lift body weight, so I don't lift dumbbells or the bench press, but I'm a strong believer in push-ups, crunches, anything that can be done in a small space. I find is a much better workout for myself than being in a gym. And, there's a lot of, I guess that comes from the Wing Chun. It's just the efficiency of just consolidating everything to just one room, push-ups, crunches, stand up, do 5 kicks with one leg, 5 kicks with the other leg, crunching down, 10 push-ups, up for crunches, and do that 20 times in a row, and you'll have a much better workout than you would have at the gym, in my personal opinion, depending on how intense you are at the gym. But there's a lot of standing around that can happen at the
Yeah.
gym, a lot of
That is true. A
distractions,
lot of talking and hanging
and,
around.
and it just takes up a little bit more time than I would want for
Oh
myself.
yeah, you're busy doing everything. 'Cause I know a lot of times you go to the gym and it's just, you're sitting around waiting on a machine. A 20-minute workout stretches on to an hour and 10 minutes. Now, when you have older people come to you and you say you have a 70-year-old guy, do you have them do a questionnaire for them to make sure they can physically do these things?
Well, that's a very good question. And my course comes with a very easy way to ease into it. There is a disclaimer to that you read at the beginning to say if you have any physical issues that you should be aware of them and see your doctor. But yeah, a lot of times the workouts are modified depending on people's physical health. I've worked with people in wheelchairs. I've worked with people who have knee injuries. I work with people who, um, you know, can't quite see properly. And all of these things, help me understand who they are. But then I can modify their training and, put less pressure on, okay, kicks. If their knees don't work properly, that's not a realistic thing. So we improvise. Okay, what can you do instead of kicking, right? You can do elbows, you can do the other elbow. We can work on rapid punches much more. So every student has its own tailored approach, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Make it personal for each person. When you've been in martial arts and in kung fu for all these years, what is it, over 20 years, you've got to have some injuries over the years that you had to modify your training. How did you do that for
Mhm.
your own personal training?
Well, one example that comes to mind is I broke my foot. I broke some small bones in the top of my foot. And interestingly enough, it wasn't Kung Fu related. I've never had a Kung Fu related injury. This was from running on a treadmill with new
Ugh.
shoes.
Yeah.
And I really screwed up my foot, but it didn't stop me. I was still having clients come to me and we were training And I just modified what I was doing. I hopped around on one foot and, they were wondering, are you okay? But I don't let anything stop me. Of course, if you come down with a flu or you're sick and, you do need time to rest, but I figured the broken foot was not going to get in my
Yeah.
way. And it was also going to set the precedent that, you know, we have to push our way through.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, you hopping around on one foot trying to teach someone. That's pretty cool. That took away that excuse. They couldn't say, I have no excuses, man.
Really, there was no excuses. There was nothing they could ever try to get out of class for.
I'm having a heart attack. Okay, come over here for a minute. Just lay down and put your hand, use one arm. Oh man. Now, when you're training by yourself and you're trying to correct the technique or anything like that, do you find that hard to keep yourself motivated in training, but being by yourself a lot?
hmm That's a great question. And there are challenges. I mean, I wake up, I do a little bit of work, and then I go and run. I run for an hour every day. Sometimes it's difficult because I've got too much work to do. Maybe I'm not, up for it, but you just need to put it in your schedule and do it. I believe that committing to small things like that every day incrementally grow and have a larger impact on your life over time. So if you can get out of the mindset of, oh, I don't feel like doing it, and just do it knowing that you're contributing to the final goals, which is I want to be able to, lift this much, in 3 months from now, I want to lose this much weight. I'm trying to cut down on body fat. All these things, it all starts with one commitment and in making sure that you can follow through.
You have a great philosophy. I like that. Great mentality. Now, what made you come up with this book? When did you start your book, Push Your Way Through? A book about using the ancient principles of Kung Fu to get what you want in life. How'd you come up with that?
Well, here is the book. And I wrote the book about
I love it.
2 years ago. Thank you. And it took me over a year to write and complete and publish, which, at the time I didn't think it was ever going to end. But I was inspired to write the book because I was noticing in life that things were really inefficient, that, as humans we're faced with a lot of distractions every day. And, somehow we get into this herd mentality of, the light turns green and we're all supposed to walk, but meanwhile there's cars coming,
Hmm.
but you start walking because one person starts walking, and it's like we're not thinking for ourselves. And so I went through a lot of concepts and I was thinking, wow. And I was with a friend and he said, you really should write a book with all your little tips and tricks on how you get from point A to point B so quickly, how you can navigate difficult situations, how can you make the most of your life and have more time for you and the people you love. Because for me, it was always about taking out the fluff from the day, making things really efficient so then I can get back to doing what I want to do, whether that's playing video games, whether that's spending time with someone I care about, whether that's a little bit more time to meditate. But nobody wants to be stuck in traffic for hours. Nobody wants to be in line at the grocery store. And so the book was written to use the ancient principles of kung fu and efficiency and a strong mindset to apply to modern day world situations.
Okay. So you're defending yourself against the stress of the world, in other words. Right?
Definitely pushing your way
Yeah.
through to make it for you and not, to a world of just chaos and lack of control.
I think that book is coming out at probably one of the best times. You wrote that as one of the best times in society now because everyone's stressed. Everyone's worried about everything. And how did everyone receive your book?
So far, the reception has been fantastic. Of course, when I published the book and I noticed on Amazon, I sold one, I sold two, and the sales, I kind of freaked out. I thought, oh my God, people are reading book I wrote. And it's an interesting feeling, but I just had to trust that um, people will find truth in it. And it's like a salt and pepper book. You can just kind of open up a chapter. It's easy to read, and there's just insights about just wisdom of every day. It's not a complicated novel. It's not going into too much about kung fu at all. It's just modern day situations broken down. And so the reception has been good based on the simplicity of the book.
Okay. Okay. Do you think you ever put it on a book on audio or anything like that?
It's in my list of things to do this year, is
Busy.
to get the book on Audible. And I'm sure it won't be that hard. It won't be as hard as what it took to write the book. I know that. So
What was the hardest part about writing the books?
the hardest part about writing the book was expanding the content of the concepts to the volume of actually being able to have a book. So I worked endlessly. I would wake up at 3:30 in the morning just to get those extra hours to write the book. So the book was initially inspired by these concepts, and so I would use my iPhone as voice memos. Now, then I got all these voice memos for about 2 or 3 months of just analyzing the world. And from there, that's when the writing began, excuse me. So it was a very good experience. I worked tirelessly to complete it. But yeah, I look forward to getting it on Audible.
That'll be awesome. You have part two or a second book coming out? I know you got to have a second book in you because, the philosophies you have, the way you live your life, you got to have a part two or a number two book coming out.
Yeah, well, this one's called Push Your Way Through, and I'm inspired to do the next book, Keep Pushing.
Keep pushing.
Because once you push through whatever obstacle that comes at you, there's going to be another one. So it's to build that momentum and how to learn to adjust your mindset to knowing that things are going to happen. Life's not always going to work out smoothly. It does for the most part, but it's to keep pushing. So you've pushed through, you've worked through all these things and broken down all these barriers. Now it's about keep pushing.
A lot of times people, they like your book says push through and they think that's the end. I just pushed through now. Everything's roses and hunky-dory now. There's always going to be challenges. And I think that book is going to be pretty good. Pretty good. Kendra, I tell you, I'm sorry, KungFu Kendra, I tell you, this has been amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us today. Before we go, tell everyone how they can reach you, how they can find all your content, how they can reach you on all the social medias and all that stuff.
Well, you can find me at kungfukendra.com. And for your listeners today, I have a special gift for them. It's a free Kung Fu class, and they can visit kungfukendra.com/gift, GIFT.
Man, that's pretty good, guys. Grab that. But I promise you, if you see her videos, you're going to want to go try all that stuff. So you better jump in there and get it. Kendra, I tell you, I really appreciate you so much. Hopefully you can come back when you do your second one, your second book, or anything else you got going on, because you're a busy, busy lady out there changing the world. I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time today.
You're amazing. You're more than welcome. We'll talk soon. I appreciate you.
Lines on my face like cracks in the road. Still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back,